By her classmates on social media. Now they're demanding accountability. Here's Nightline co-anchor Dan Harris.
In many ways, Mallory Grossman was a typical 12-year-old. She loved gymnastics, cheerleading, and going camping with her family.
Mallory, to me, is the all-American child. She's just the all-American little girl.
But then, on June 14th, near the end of her 6th grade year, Mallory took her own life because her parents say she was a victim of bullying. Now, all that remains are pictures and memories.
I have this cardboard box, and that's her life. That's all we're left with. 12 years, and we're left with a cardboard box.
Dianne and Seth Grossman are now speaking out, hoping to prevent others like Mallory from hurting themselves.
We have been flooded with thousands of messages about other children that have been bullied and tortured and harassed.
And also, they say, to hold responsible the people they blame for their daughter's death.
They taste something like this happening before people wake up and say, hey, enough is enough already.
During the last school year, Dianne and Seth say they began to realize that Mallory was having problems at her middle school in Rockaway, New Jersey.
But we just chalked it up to the usual girls just teasing kind of thing, and then it escalated and got a little more out of hand.
What are we talking about?
She kind of had like a target on her back of, let's just pick on her. Let's make her feel bad. One girl called her fat. One girl called her ugly.
Her parents say the bullying began in the classroom.
Kicking her chair, not something so that the teachers could see, but just that repetitive tapping and calling her names very quietly behind her back.
Then they say the bullying went digital via both text and social media.
Malicious pictures, they took pictures of her on the school grounds.
One post, Mallory asked them to take it down, and the girl wrote back, never, with the smiley face laughing.
This past spring, Mallory's parents say they started to notice some disturbing changes in their daughter.
It was just failing grades, miserable, and then it was, I've got a headache, I've got a stomach ache, and I don't feel like going to school.
The Grossmans claim they repeatedly complained to school officials, but they say that their complaints were not taken seriously enough. What should they have done?
When there's a repeat complaint pretty regularly, I think they should have said, you know what, let's take a stronger look at this and really see what's going on.
In June, the Grossmans say they did have an exhaustive meeting at the school.
The only thing that they said was, we're investigating it, we'll look into it, I know your frustration, and Mallory left there feeling so depleted. She just said, you just made it worse. She's like, you don't know these girls, you've just made it worse.
She was upset.
She was exhausted. I don't think she felt safe. I think that she was just really sad.
And was it that day that she died?
Yeah, approximately 4 hours later.
Although it had been a rough day, Dianne and Seth say they didn't see it coming.
She was gone, just like that. I don't think you can fathom what it's like to see your perfectly healthy child gone.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yesterday, the Grossmans and their attorney, Bruce Nagel, announced they plan to sue the school and possibly even the parents of the children who allegedly bullied Mallory.
This small device can be a lethal weapon in the hands of the wrong child. She was even told, why don't you kill yourself?
And what are the goals? Because it's not just about reaching a financial settlement.
Look, the goal of this case is to give a wake-up call to every school in every town throughout this country. They need to know that cyberbullying is an epidemic, and they need to stop this.
The major point of this lawsuit is accountability. Someone needs to be held accountable. New Jersey has some of the toughest laws in the books in the country as far as harassment and bullying.
What good are the laws if no one follows through with them? I wasn't with her 8 hours a day. I wasn't, they were. I was sending them messages saying, these girls are torturing her at school, she's uncomfortable, she doesn't feel safe, and they were like, well, look into it.
The school district declined to comment to ABC News, but they released a statement today saying that they cannot discuss the case because it is still under investigation, and that the teachers, staff, and administrators are, as they have always been and will continue to be, committed to protecting the rights and safety for all our students.
How strong do you think their lawsuit is?
It's all going to be dependent on the facts. It is tough to hold a school district responsible for someone else committing suicide, even a child. So there has to be some level of proof that the school could have reasonably foreseen suicide.
In response to a request from ABC News for comment about the case, the Morris County Prosecutor's Office said the matter is under investigation. For now, what we know is that the heartbreaking story these parents tell is one we have heard before and, sadly, one we are likely to hear again.
I see so many parents, so many kids in my practice that are suicidal, they're self-harming, they don't know whether or not they want a future in this world.
Although experts like Stroman say teen suicides can rarely be attributed to just one cause, according to the Cyberbullying Research Center, 34% of students surveyed report having been cyberbullied in their life, and adolescent girls are more likely to experience the abuse.
What is it about digital technology that puts bullying on steroids?
I think that it's the same as maybe somebody who's driving a car and might have road rage. Behind those glass walls, we don't think anybody notices how we're acting or what we're yelling. And that's an analogy of how kids are, I think, behind their devices.
It's me, live and in stereo.
The issue of cyberbullying has been put in the spotlight this year, in part because of the controversial Netflix series 13 Reasons Why. The series, co-produced by Selena Gomez, chronicles Hannah Baker, who commits suicide.
Why didn't you say this to me when I was alive?
But leaves audio tapes behind for the 13 people she blames.
It's Hannah.
Critics say the show glorifies suicide. At the height of the show's controversy, my colleague Gloria Riviera visited Oxford High School in Michigan to talk to teenagers about their experiences with bullying and suicide.
I would have very, very degrading texts sent to me.
There was this one girl that was really mean to me. She said really mean things. Why don't you just go kill yourself?
The statistics are sobering. For people between the ages of 10 and 24, suicide is the second leading cause of death.
I think it's something that's gone through every high schooler's head at one point, but
it's something that's gone through every high schooler's head at some point. That is a pretty major thing to say. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. In Oxford, in recent years, 2 young students took their own lives, Shane Reshek and Megan Abbott. In response to the show and in honor of their classmates, a small group of brave students took a drastic step. Kayla, the volleyball player.
One day I heard the worst thing someone could ever hear. Why don't you just go kill yourself?
They broadcasted their personal struggles in school for the entire student body to hear. Part of their project called 13 Reasons Why Not. Here's Riley, an aspiring scientist.
I was afraid. For the time you laid your hands on me, for when I started to believe I actually would be better off dead.
The aim of their project, to tell other kids like them they are not alone. The show spurred conversation for the Grossman family, although they felt it was too graphic for their 12-year-old to watch.
We talked about suicide. This was an open conversation that we had and what suicide and ending your life is and how permanent it is. These were open conversations.
It was Halloween.
Yeah.
Now the Grossmans say they're hoping to create a national movement they're calling Mallory's Army to prevent any more young people from dying.
We want to make sure that she becomes the hero that I think that a lot of children want someone to speak out and speak up for them.
For Nightline, this is Dan Harris in New York.
Our thanks to Dan.